sway the entire planning board. The sidewalks that are in Mountain Ridge are because I took a very hard stance that we needed some sidewalks.
Right.
And so we got something out of the developer. The planning board looks at plans that are presented to it and within the framework of the existing zone. And if people want something else that's outside that doesn't fit the definition of the zone, they go to a zoning board of appeals. The zoning board of appeals does not establish zones either. That the village board establishes zones and definitions of those zones. So when they come to look for some sort of exception, they go to the zoning board of appeals. And when they come to the planning board, they present plans and we see how best to fit that in and to work with them to get the best thing that we can get.
So who was the one that left the final decision of no sidewalks on Market?
Well, there was.
Where did that come down to? Because that should have been sidewalks. That is part of the village.
I agree. There's many places that there should have been sidewalks. But members of the planning board at that time, when that was approved, not everybody had the same vision that I had.
I just had a question for those of us that live in that area that would be rezoned or renamed commercial. Are they
That's all.
tax implicated? Are there different tax rates?
No, and I thought I mentioned that, but if I didn't, I'm sorry. We did look into that if it's a residential house, you're living in, you're going to pay the same taxes that you pay, regardless of the zone that you're in. Okay? However, if you decide to sell souvenirs out of that house, now you're a business. So your tax rate would go up. But as long as you're using that house for what you were using it for, it's going to stay the same. That was a specific question that I asked Will Frank, our legal.
So if RO, and all we're doing is changing the name to commercial something?
CB,
CB?
commercial business.
Commercial.
Okay. So I'm in a house, and right now it can be used as a professional office.
Could be.
Okay. So I'm either living in it, or it's gonna be a professional office.
Mhm.
So then if you're just renaming it, how are you then allowing commercial businesses to move in? That's what I think I'm hearing here.
Because in that section of the CB, the lot or land shall be used for, shall not be used for other than one of the following uses except as provided: single-family detached dwelling, multiple dwelling, multiple dwelling we deleted, professional office, or combination of office and dwelling. So it defines what you can have.
But I didn't hear commercial.
Or retailer or.
Professional, under professional office, and going back to 175-3, the word uses definitions, we have to make amendments to that. That's what the whole purpose of this was, and it's not just CB and changing the OR to CB. We're going through every zone in the village, the RA, the mobile homes, every zone that we're working on. And this one is just one where we started tonight, hopefully, that we got way off. And we have to, in conjunction with that, we have to go into the entire code and change the word uses definitions of professional to include retail, to include banks. The banks aren't included.
Well, yeah, they
That's
predated everything, and they had, at the end of the day, they were basically given spot zoning.
Well, and that's
No,
what,
no, but if you take Walden Savings Bank, they were in where Hudson Heritage is now.
Correct, and there used to be a house
So
on
they
the corner.
moved, they closed that and they built a new bank. Was that up in front of the zoning board?
That zoning,
Yeah,
it went to the village board, the lot,
yeah,
the zoning on the lot got changed.
yeah.
Because it had a house on it, and they extended the zone from from whatever that street is, they extended
Locust.
the industrial zone forward, and
Okay,
they rezoned that one.
right,
That's how the large bank got built.
right, but really, it would have to come up in front of the zoning board, so I'm glad you said
No,
that.
it went to the village board.
And they sent it to,
It goes to the village board because they
Right.
wanted a zoning change for the
okay.
lot.
Well, how come, now, we also had the situation with the business on right across the street from you, used to be Jimmy Watt's insurance agent, okay? That it was,
Boiler.
the boiler people, they were up in front of the planning board, when they had to go up in front of the zoning board.
And they did go to the zoning board.
After I made a statement that they're in front of the wrong board. It's a great idea that everyone has, but they're in front of the wrong board, okay? And that's still, now, the accessory building that we're talking about, not allowing, is that building that they plan on building back there, that they were given approval for.
Which
Right.
I went on record, I was totally against. Just wanted it on
No.
record.
So, just to finish my train of
So,
thought,
what-
so we went,
Right, the
so we
business
go
that
from
you
RO,
mentioned.
now we're going to a BC. But at the end of the day, we're not just changing a name, we're actually changing the zone. Because now we're gonna modify it to have commercial, correct?
Commercial to the point of we have to have a list of businesses that we won't approve. We don't have to approve
So,
every
all right,
business.
So this is pretty simple, I think, at the end of the day, because I think you just raised a good example too. You
Okay,
know, we've got the RO zone, and we end up with an accessory building, which is basically a commercial building in a sense, on an RO zone. So right out of the box, you can see that zoning, and depending on how the boards vote and how their opinions are formed, something like that happens. So when it comes to commercial property, I think in certain places it really does work. Right now in this RO zone, I would say, for me personally, I don't think it will work to the points of there will be people coming in and buying multiple lots. And they will challenge you to the ZBA, to court and anywhere else that they want to, that you'll have strip malls down there. And so I feel that if you change it, you're basically opening the door, you're inviting that conversation to take place. And I think for this village, that's a bad move. As stated, there are other commercial establishments that have obviously empty stores, their rents are high, they pay CCC leases. But at the end of the day, somebody who's building a building is gonna do the same thing. If he built the building and he wanted to get out and rent it, he'll do the same thing. And then that building could sit empty. So, opening that up north and south, or east and west at this point, and I kind of question why we're not doing Goshen as well, Goshen Avenue, or 208 all the way up and down to the village.
because we use that as historic business district.
Okay, but at the end of the day, I just think the commercial is just opening the door for other opportunities. And for the people that are living there, I think it's just gonna be an unbelievable nightmare probably over the next 10, 15, 20 years as people are still living there. And the business next door becomes maybe that, a chop shop. And they, it's a restaurant. And what those other neighborhoods are gonna be dealing with in that transition period. So I just think at this point, it's not a great idea.
Joe, I think one of the problems in this village, and this is going way back, and I worked here for some odd years, I think your biggest issue here is your terminology in your zone. That's your biggest issue here. There's nothing more than that. What is allowed in a commercial zone? What is a hairdresser? What is a beauty shop? What is a bagel shop? What is a restaurant? That's your biggest problem. One of your biggest problems, why this building is sitting here, is because of your interpretation. And you don't have the right interpretation in your zoning law to make. Changing everything, it still comes right back to what your terminology is.
Right, so
That's your problem.
in our quest, all of that has to be examined and re-examined and re-examined after that, just to make sure it's correct. Okay? No one said, I never told the board, this is an easy one, I think this is not gonna be a problem, okay? We're looking to have the village conform to what's going on today. Okay? That's all we're looking to do. All right, the O&R district, office residential, well, you know, they came in for a zoning change, the bank, that's what you said, what they did. Why? Why? Rather than what type of business, this is the type of business that we're allowing in town. If you don't like it, then move down to Cornwall, they're accepting applications on any business. Okay, I said this 2 years ago, all right, that we have to move forward, all right, because we're 2 years behind, we're 33 years behind Warwick. And I keep mentioning Warwick, but everyone knows Warwick, everybody's been through there. Oh, wow, this is beautiful, beautiful place, okay? It's the last calling.
I just wish that people lived here. I grew up here, all right? I remember this place as a booming little village.
Yeah.
It was booming from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yep.
After that, it slowed down, and then put Saturnals, I so-called Saturnals.
You can, that's fine.
You know, Saturnals.
Yeah, but-
Billy's still there.
I mean, there was a lot of business.
Yes,
The parking spaces haven't changed.
The
right.
amount of
We
cars.
had the
Yeah,
same
the amount of cars.
parking
Yes.
spaces, now it's around people coming through the village.
You know, but it's, so what do? We have to rethink what we've been thinking all these years. Because to me, my opinion, it's not working.
We have to fill it with what people are gonna come to. People are coming to restaurants. You know, if we had a few more restaurants, and I love Kevin too, and Kevin and I have this conversation all the time. We're fighting over the same 5 customers. When we fight over 50, it's friendly competition. Let's get to 50 here.
You need the 50 parking spaces too.
That's a big problem. The more people who desire to walk around, the more they'll be willing to walk. That's why when you drive, to go to Joe's point about Warwick, when you go to Warwick, you look for a parking spot. You do not look for a parking spot in front of the place you're going. You're anxious just to get to a parking spot. So you have a much more of an increase in your tolerance for that. You don't have it in Washingtonville. If you don't find a spot in front of where you're going, you keep going. And that's a
right.
change.
And that's where that signage and everything needs. to
Yes,
go.
signage
It's
is,
why parking can't
is,
be
you
on
know,
Main Street.
I just,
Because
you
you don't
know,
let people.
Along with
watch
the-
someone going outside looking for,
Along with the
I
beautification,
think
the
it was
signage
the-
could be a next step, of really bringing awareness to what is available to people.
It's a much bigger,
Yeah.
yes,
So 2 things I kind of want to bring up. One is, you know, the rail trail
Mhm.
that I know we don't really have control over because that belongs to Plaquemine. But, you know, I think that would be a really big thing because, you know, that would really be a hidden gem that's not, you know, that leaves you feeling very safe, but that's also a big fast track between a lot of people's homes and getting to downtown. You know, that's an attraction. I mean, I myself have traveled to other towns that have rail trails that go to businesses, that go to, you know, restaurants, that go to whatever it is. That's an attraction. That's awesome. You don't need a parking space in the middle of town to have that. I think maybe working towards that would be awesome. Or even something like, you know, like Lake George has even, you know, like a historic looking trolley that just bebops people around. You know, certain little stops and just
I
kind
was
of,
gonna say
you
that
know,
before.
like
We
leads
had
you
some
off
kind of
to, and I mean, that's not
a
really
trolley
gonna work
or
well,
during
tram.
rush hour
we could
traffic.
ask Harry, he's in charge of the museum and the,
No, but seriously,
we put him in charge of.
where you
There's
do
some
have
kind
parking
of
spots,
something.
where you do have parking spots in Brotherhood Plaza, you could, if you had some kind of.
But that's all part of,
trolley
you know,
car thing.
that's down the road, but not far down.
But maybe it needs to be a little closer down the
Yeah,
road.
Right.
that's why I said not far down.
That may sustain our businesses if we had something like that.
So my view is a little bit outside of Washingtonville. I never grew up here. I moved here 3 years ago from Europe, but I did study urban development. And I've been coming back and forth here to the United States for 18 years. My partner lived in a little, well, in college, lived in a little place called Sag Harbor on Long Island. I don't know if any of you know it. Before the crisis, it was ridiculous. Like, they have yachts there, they have multi-million-dollar homes, and they have a very cute historic downtown that's always busy. then the housing crisis happened, and I think we all know what happened there. All those houses were for sale. There's hardly anybody living there. But what they did have was that historic downtown that still attracted tourists. So I think maybe if we can't financially support the town as it is right now, because we only have 6,000 people really living in this village, right? You have to attract people from outside. You have to be able to be appealing. That's why Warwick is successful. Not necessarily because the people that live there support their own community, but because they attract people that want to go away for a weekend, people that want to get out for a weekend, people that want to spend a weekend with family and will stay in a hotel or want to go somewhere. So I think it's wonderful that you guys are doing this, and I think it's going to be a big game changer for the village if these things do happen. And I think, yes, you're going to need to make changes, and not everybody's going to like them, because it's called the NIMBY effect, not in my backyard. We want change, but I don't want it next door. And, I mean, there's a geographical term for it, and I think a lot of people might know it. But if you don't do it, you're gonna stay stagnant, and then maybe groups that